Do you think the job is more about talent versus degree, like a degree, like college degree? I definitely, it's like talent, dude. It's fully talent. There are people in the industry that I've seen that came out of straight out of high school that kick my ass, dude. They are so good. You know, we at Oddworld we hired guys that were from San Luis Obispo, and we got a few just straight out of high school. Raymond Swanland, look him up. His art is freaking fantastic, dude. And at that time, and I'm sure he potentially, explored an education or something. But at the time, I think he was straight out of high school. He got his education in the studio, and his work is fantastic. I've also followed my fellow art center grads in my class, and you will notice, or I noticed that a couple of them are realtors. They just didn't end up producing in the concept art field or in the design field. I didn't put a lot of weight in fan art, but I do know that a lot of studios, and Riot included and Blizzard included, I think they do have a strong appreciation for fan art, because the studios that I worked at previously were kind of like designer centric studios, or engine production. I don't know what do I want to call this. They weren't really player centric studios, meaning you didn't have a lot of cycling with the players to discover what your content was going to be. They basically, like at Oddworld, we kind of Fahrenheit, right? Nice tracksuit, dude. I love Adidas Classic. It's a little chilly, but it's working for me right now. So at Oddworld, we cared about one person's vision and then executing that vision. But at Riot, they really care about the players, and same at Blizzard. They really care about the players' opinions. So they run specific contests or specific moments when they actually look at players' fan art. Kind of want to always work on the game. Definitely work on the game. It's when you look around a really large company, it's super interesting. And in a smaller company like at Oddworld, when I was at Oddworld and we made Abe's Odyssey, there were a lot of artists, maybe 20 something artists, and they were working on Abe's Odyssey, and there were, it was kind of like a bootstrap thing where everyone was just contributing and pushing the game forward, and bit by bit we were making it happen. And then there was kind of like an administrative wing, or the other section of employees. There's like HR, there's admin, there's support, there's like facilities, and there's management. And then we had some publisher interface. And so the publisher was the person who puts the game on the shelves, sends it out, and gets it sold, does all the marketing, all the other stuff. So the kind of like the publisher ended up carrying a lot of the weight of the employee base for the marketing and all the other support, which is kind of the only way to do it when you're a little company trying to make a game. And there's 50 people or 40 people or 30 people. You can't have 2/3 of those people walking around making plans and then 1/3 of those people actually trying to make a game. In a tiny company, everybody's got to be on the game, in the orbit of the actual product that's going to fund the rest of the game. I remember when I graduated and I still had I had my student loans coming out, and I had a couple already out of school. I had a couple of freelance jobs, but I didn't have a full-time studio job. And I sent out my resume, and I sent out some portfolio pieces, and I got a couple calls, but I sent a lot more than I was comfortable with. And finally, it was a friend of a friend was like, "Holy shit, there's this opportunity here. You got to check it out." And it was at Oddworld, and these guys are great. You have to see what the work is, but it's in San Luis Obispo. But you could get there, check it out. And I came up, I saw that work, and I was like, "Oh man, this stuff is awesome. I'm into it." And that came because a friend knew that a certain style I was drawing was fairly applicable to the stuff that they were doing at Oddworld. And then once the director saw the work I had done and how it related, then we were off to the races. And then I never had to look back. I basically, from there, just ended up working on all those projects and then starting my freelance career 10 years later. And now I'm full-time studio again, which I love. In a nutshell, you can't underestimate how important those people are in your network. You need to maintain those guys.